From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you into this For the People weekend edition. And we kick off it on Friday, and it's a program that has a long shelf life because people have told me, well, you know, when you do a broadcast and then a podcast, because we do both at forthepeopleshow.com. We have radio stations across the country that carry the show, but we find that people, they listen to it all week long, and you have that ability to do so at forthepeopleshow.com. And one of the nicest things that one of my listeners, and you know who you are, she used to be a client of mine. She's a friend of mine. Her name's Megan. And she says that what I like about your show, I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, is you kind of never know what's going to come at you. You kind of switch it up a little bit. And we like to keep it that way. I mean, if it's always predictable, you know what Keith Allen's going to do every single time. I mean, some people like that, like Groundhog Day all over again, just again and again reliving it. But, life changes, things change, and there's certain things that don't change, but we don't want you to ever feel like you're getting bored of the show. So we do try to make it a show that you learn something, you feel something. In a digital world that we live in, I'm often reminded we don't have the human touch. And that's one of the main things that I try to include in the broadcast is that human touch, that human component that I'm telling you, folks, people are really missing out on relationships these days because you cannot get the same feelings that you can get with meeting somebody and looking them in the eye, giving them a hug for real. I mean, emojis are great. They're fun, but they don't capture the essence of what it means to really be human. So anyways, if you're new to the broadcast, that's us in a nutshell. And we do try to provide a daily dose of common sense. That's something else that that's our credo, if you will. We try to live by that. And anyway, let's get into the broadcast, shall we? Hurricanes. I live in Florida. We do the show from Tampa, Florida. So wherever you are, hurricanes may not affect you so much. Maybe you get some of the rain, some of the wind, some of the after effect, but it may not affect you. But we got 3 major hurricanes that are predicted already. The information has come out, and believe me, my ears perked up because I live in the Sunshine State in Tampa, and if any of you have family, and everybody knows somebody in Florida, but if you remember the 2004 hurricane season when we had those back-to-back hurricanes, I mean, they were back-to-back. Charlie, remember Charlie? Yeah, that was meant for Tampa Bay, according to all the meteorologists, but it took a turn to Punta Gorda, 90 miles to the south, and missed us. But it was going to barrel up Tampa Bay, and all the models showed that the buildings downtown would be flooded out, the hospital, and just the landscape would change. It'd been different. It would have been devastating. But it didn't happen. And last year, luckily, knock on wood, I think it's wood under there, we dodged another bullet. I mean, there were parts of Florida that got damaged, but Puerto Rico, man, the islands, man, they got the worst of it. And I have family and friends over in Puerto Rico, and how devastating. You talk about the landscape not being the same. Literally, trees that took, generations to grow are gone. Beaches that once were unrecognizable. People are still without power. It's a mess, and we certainly don't like them, but it's a factor of Mother Nature. The weather researchers at Colorado State University they're predicting a slightly above average hurricane season for 2018. This is what the report says. Fort Collins, Colorado is where they're at. They say, while last year's Hurricane Irma will not soon be forgotten, in the Sunshine State in Puerto Rico is still reeling from Maria. Remember Maria? Well, weather researchers at Colorado State University said that they are predicting a slightly above average hurricane season in 2018. The university's tropical meteorology project team is predicting 14 named storms between June 1st and November 30th. And that's when things start ramping up. I mean, here it is. We're at the beginning of April, but just a couple, months away. I mean, I wouldn't, that's when we, put it out there that's when things start ramping up. That's when the winds start kicking up and the Horn of Africa, when you see these storms start, spurring out there, and they talk about the Horn of Africa and whether or not there's a chance of development. I mean, you almost feel like a meteorologist these days, when you follow these things. But are you ready? Are you really ready this time around? And if we've learned anything from last year, 2017, bare minimal, have a generator or have access to somebody that has one. You need a generator. You need something that's going to give you electricity. Don't try the inverters unless you got a pro one and you don't mind getting out in the wind and all the elements and you want to keep your car, your vehicle running. The generator's the way to go. And there's all different kinds of sizes, and now's the time to get it. If you wait until, the hurricanes are starting, you're not going to be able to find any. And such was the case here in the Bay Area, to the Carolinas, up to New York. I mean, you could not find. A good thing for people that bought them. And you say, oh, well, we dodged a bullet in my area. We didn't really need it. I see what's going to happen. Just never know quite when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, but the likelihood of a significant El Nino tropical Atlantic season, temperatures are currently near their long-term average values. Consequently, considered a natural factor for 2018 Atlantic hurricane activity at the present time. According to all these experts that study this, say we're in for something, at least three major hurricanes predicted along the Atlantic hurricane season. If you're just joining us here, talking about their predictions and getting ready and, something to talk about. I know it's not June yet, but, yeah, and why do people have insurance? Because if something, I can hear my audience. You know this stuff. All right, just be smart about it. Don't, if it's not you, talk to your loved ones, talk to your friends, because there's just some people, they just fly at the seat of their pants, and you know who they are. They don't plan. Planners, you're just a lot more secure, and you feel better about things. And plus the fact it'll save you money. Now, there's a new deal for CVS, and these I'll tell you what, they're pioneers. I congratulate CVS, man, because they're really looking out for your health. And I'm not making any money. This is not a money maker. Or I'm not endorsing CVS, but I shop CVS, and they gave up the cigarettes. Literally, they don't sell them. I mean, you think about the hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue. But they're, I guess, making up for it in other ways. You know anybody that receives dialysis? This new report says CVS dialysis at home to treat kidney failure patients is planned as the national drugstore chain continues to branch deeper into monitoring and providing care. The company said Wednesday it will offer home dialysis for patients through its Quorum business, and it's working with another unspecified company, whoever that is, to develop a new device for that. And a CVS spokeswoman declined to name the company or disclose how much CVS is spending on the venture, but the company will start a clinical trial of their device this year. CVS Health will begin its expansion into kidney care with a program that helps identify chronic kidney disease early. It will then connect those patients with nurses for training and nutritional counseling to help delay the need for dialysis, a process that obviously filters and cleans the blood. Quorum specializes in the care delivered at a patient's home and infusion therapy, which involves medication delivered through a needle or catheter. So there you go, CVS Health. They operate 1,100 clinics in its stores. Did you know that? It does blood draws for diabetes patients, helps monitor chronic conditions like high blood pressure at certain stores, and the company also has started testing vision and hearing aid centers and is talking about selling more medical equipment or offering nutritionists to counsel customers. Company lenders have said that they aren't planning to replace doctors, rather not lenders but leaders. I think they're doing just fine financially. Instead, they want to see how the national tech to supplement the care of patients works out for physicians, but apparently physicians are on board and crazy about it. And so is the prospect of people not having to leave their house because it's draining. So, one of my colleagues in radio broadcasting that just retired, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. His body just, man, you get wiped out, he said. But we wish him well. And he listens to this broadcast, a legend. I'll just tell you who he is. Ted Webb. Ted fixture in the Tampa Bay area. And a salt-of-the-earth kind of guy. Live it up. Ted has lived it up for a long time, and we hope that he sticks around for a longer time. But the dialysis, the whole process, he says, very draining. I think it's like 3 hours. Then you got to drive there, then you got to drive back, and he said just wipes you out. But my mother-in-law went through that, and she lost her fight. Unfortunately, things went haywire for her, and we lost her last year. So it's been a rough year getting into Easter and the holidays and all that. But God bless any of you who have gone through that or have loved ones. It's definitely not easy. But CVS obviously sees a niche area, and they're going to get into that market. And I see the benefit immediately where people, can just stay in the comfort of their own homes and have this done. And if you have money, I believe you could have this done, but it costs a lot of money. And if you got insurance, you just use it. But, boy, there's a lot of folks on dialysis, more than you think. Here in the Bay Area, I drive past 2 or 3 centers. I think there's 1 or 2 on Kennedy, and there's a bunch of other places in Tampa that do that. But a lot of folks living that way, and you can live. Some people live years and years and years. You just have to watch your nutrition. You have to monitor everything, but people can do it. This immigration deal on the border, if you've been watching it, our President Trump has ordered the National Guard to the border, and that's to help the Border Patrol. And federally speaking, they can't detain. I think it's a deterrent because federally speaking, the law, they can't apprehend. But they're just there to assist as much as they possibly can. But there's a major problem. And for all of those that said that he was anti-immigrant and all of this other nonsense, and that Mexico was not sending people over the border, and they weren't doing anything crazy. By the way, that caravan that was supposed to, just barrel into the United States, well, it was stopped. And it wasn't stopped by Americans. It wasn't stopped by the National Guard or Border Patrol. It was stopped by Mexican authorities.